That's good. Good afternoon to all of you. No response. Students, please you confirm me whether I'm audible or not. Please. Anyone of you? No one? Any one of you? I'm not going to tell the name. Any one of you, please confirm me whether I'm audible or not.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Till now, total 23 students have joined. Let me take the attendance. Taking the attendance. Please confirm whether my PPT is visible or not.
Yes, sir.
Now, we are going to discuss about the inter-symbol interface. As last time, last time I have already told you that we will see the effect of the channel. Two effect of the channel. One is the wide Gaussian noise. This is additive in nature, and it is getting added with the transmitted signal once it is transmitting in the channel. And second, I told you that is because of the dispersive nature of the channel. Another effect is also there, which is actually used to, which is actually causes, which causes some error in the receiving signals. That is called as inter-symbol interface. And last time, just going to the recap of the last time, that is the whatever the discussions we have done till now. That there we have only considered the effect of the noise, and we had not considered the effect of the inter-symbol interface. Now we are going to consider the effect of the inter-symbol interface. While discussing the effect of the noise, we have seen that if we have that equal a priori probability of the occurrence of the 1 and 0, then in that case P0 equals to P1, P1 equals to half. And then we have calculated that threshold level what we need to actually set that of the receivers to make the decision. That is called as lambda optimum value. That is, we need to take the 0. And in that case, the conditional probabilities, once we transmit one and once we receive the conditional probabilities of the error, 1 and 0 and 0 and 1, that is one, once we transmit the 0 and we receive the data, that is 1. So that becomes both become equal. And in that case, we have calculated the probability of the complementary error functions A divided by N naught by TB, which we have represented over here in terms of the signal energy per bit. And then we have seen that probability of error, and this type of channel where the a priori probabilities are equal, that is equal to half, that is called as BSC, biosymmetric channel. And more study about the BSC but biosymmetric channels, you will be studying in your higher semester, that is called information and theory subject. Although there is a little bit portion related to the information theory subject in the module 5, module 5, module 4. But this BSC, a concept of BSC is not also there. So you will study in that subject once we will study in detail about the information theory. So then we have seen that once we increase the signals to noise ratio, it decreases rapidly. Even with the slight increase of the signals to noise ratio, the probability of decreases. Hence, if the signals to noise ratio is more, we can say that up to the satisfaction level, like here you can see at the order of 14 dB, then we can say the error is 10 to the power minus 12, which is very, very small. So that error minimizations can be done due to the noise, can be done just by increasing the signal to noise. Whereas another effect which occurs, that is called as inter-symbol interference in the channel, which here we are going to study. And that mainly happens because of the dispersive nature of the channel. The dispersive nature of the channel means that impulse response of that channel is dependent upon the frequency. And here So to study the inter-symbol interference, we have considered the baseband boundary data transmission system. This is nothing but the whole communication system which is used to transmit the baseband boundary data. Here you can see the input binary data is there, which may be the PCM output, it may be a data modulated signals output. Any binary data is given over here, and then pulse amplitude modulations. Here you don't consider this. Actually, this you can consider as a pulse amplitude modulation rather than the discrete pulse amplitude modulation. Because in pulse amplitude modulations, you might have stated that is the amplitude. The pulse signal varies according to the message signal instantaneous value of the message signal. But the message signal in that case there was analog in nature. But here the message signal what we are considering is the input binary data. So here we call it as discrete pulse amplitude system, which generates at the output because this binary input data is simply 1 and 0. So this pulse amplitude model, main job of this one is to generate the signals. The amplitude is +1 or -1 depending upon whether the input binary data is 1 or 0. So if this is 1, then AK is nothing but 1. When this is 0, AK is nothing but the -1, but it is not like 1 and -1, rather it will simply generate the very short duration impulse signal having the magnitude of 1 in one case and having the magnitude of -1 in another case. Once there is a 1 and 0 respect. So this AK you can consider a very short durations impulse approximately a unit impulse pulses. If you take the mod of that, then unit impulse pulses having the total area under that curve is 1. Now you consider now this AK, which you can consider it as a unit approximately a unit impulse signal is given to the transmit filter. This transmit filter is nothing but the whole transmitter actually transfer functions impulse response which is given by GT. Once it passes through this transmit filter with impulse response, this GT is written over here, that is the impulse response of this transmit, transmit filter. Once it passes through this GT, at the output it generates the ST. Now this ST is passing through the channel. The whole thing is channel. So where we can have the two parameters, that is the channel whose impulse response is ST. That's why here the channel is denoted, so that we can consider the account of the channel. That is channel whose impulse response is ST. And in this channel, some white Gaussian noise, the WT, may be added. So the effect of white Gaussian noise in the transmitted signals we have already studied. So here we will not be studying about the white Gaussian noise effect of the WT, but we will be studying the dispersive nature of this channel. And that is the impulse response. We can have impulse response channels. And then, and actually this is one of the factors by which this ISI arises. And then the combined signals, which is added with this XNAP A, which is the output of this channel, added with the WT. This X is nothing but the XNAP is actually received at the receiving side. So the whole receiver circuitry, receiver actually system, we have denoted it by the impulse system CT. So this CT is nothing but the receiver filter impulse system. And whatever the signals is generated from this receiver filter, that is the YT, is sampled, the value of that one is sampled at Pi equals to ITB. At Pi equals to ITB. And then that sample value gets compared with the predefined threshold level. How can we choose the value of the threshold level that we have already studied in the previous class? So that on the basis of that, this decision-making device makes the decision that whether 1 has been transmitted, is decay, or 0 has been transmitted, because depending upon whether YTI is greater than lambda or YTI is less than lambda. So this is the whole block diagram of the baseband boundary data transmission system. And for that, this system, we will see that by what characteristics of this system this ISI is developed. And what is the ISI? Okay. So actually, what happens? Suppose we transmit a signals which is transmitted in the form of pulse. Then, due to this channels and the transmit filter impulse response and the receive filter impulse response, some pulse which is just after that desired pulse or just before to that other desired pulse may interfere with that intersymbol. So what are those terms which are getting actually interfered with that desired pulse signals will study. How can we minimize that? And what is that? What should be the characteristics of that channel? By considering that, we can say that there is no ISI. The channel is ISI free. If the channel is ISI free, then received signals will can have the error only because of the white gas and noise. And since we know that just by increasing the signals noise ratio to the satisfaction level, we can actually increase that probability of error. But we cannot actually avoid the probability of error, that is the error by 100%, rather we can minimize. And depending upon that, that in which systems we are using that, for which system, for which applications we are using that communication system. Correspondingly, you can actually choose that, okay, this much of the probability of error is permissible. And correspondingly, you can choose that signal to noise ratio. Because ultimately, to increase the signal to noise ratio, you have to increase the signal power. So once we increase the signal power, then ultimately it will actually make the system. So and it becomes the costly also. Depending upon that, how much the error is permissible, and because of that, because of the white noise, you can actually choose the signal to noise. Now, coming to the analysis part, sorry, coming to the analysis part of this intersymbol interface, let us represent each signal in the mathematical form. And then we will see that what is ASI and how can we remove and how can we minimize this ASI and how can we make the whole system free from the ASI. So for that, AK is what, as I told you, this is nothing but the plus 1 minus 1 are written over here, but it should be plus delta T minus delta T. But you can consider it approximately. You can consider it approximately a unit impulse response, unit impulse sequence. A very short duration. If symbol BK is 1, then it is plus 1. As I told you, if the symbol BK is 0, it is minus 1. Now, once this AK is given to the transmit filter, then the output of that transmit filter can be written as AKG T minus KTB. How? How the output of this transmit filter can be written as AKG T minus KTB? Because you can see this K can vary from minus infinite to infinite. So G T, suppose K equals to 0, then it will be GT. AK into GT plus K equals to 1, so it will be G T minus TB plus G T minus 2TB plus G T minus 3TB plus once the K will be negative, then it may be KG T plus TB KG G T plus 2TB. It means that it is just summing. It is just summing the actually the delayed version or advanced version of this transmit filter response when this AK appears. That is, it is multiplied by this AK. Okay. So this corresponding like AK at first pulse, this is A0. A0 may be plus 1 or minus 1 depending upon BK, whether BK is 0 or 1. So and then GT. Now in the second term, it will be A1, then A1 GT minus T. So it is what it is. It does. It simply some the transmit filter response are time periods. So what happens? All time. What happens? Why it is happening? Because you know that if we have an LTI system whose impulse response is ST, and if the input of this one is delta T, delta function, then output of this one is YT, which is nothing but the convolution of this delta T with the HT. So the convolution of this delta T with the HT will be how much? That is the convolution of an impulse functions with the impulse response or any function. Convolution of the impulse response with any function is nothing but that function itself. So if delta T, it is just like the delta T as we have assumed that it is approximately a unit impulse functions. So once this unit impulse functions will pass through the transmit filter, the output of that one will be nothing but the HT. So once this impulse functions will appear at t equals to 0, output will be output at that corresponding to that will be GT simply. Once it will appear at t equals to 1, the output of that t say t plus TB if you are considering that as an advance, or you can consider it as a t minus TB. So it's simply summed up all the what is coming, and it's the expression of ST is given by summation AKG T minus KTB. This signal is passing through the channel HT. Then what will happen? what will happen? This here also the same figure of that is AK. Now this ST passes through the channel HT, whose response is HT, whose output is X naught T. Now this X naught T is getting summed with the white Gaussian mass, whose whose spectral density is nothing but the eta by 2. Now then passes through the receiver filter. So if you want to find out the expression of YT, then YT is YT, we can write it as mu. Mu is any scaling factor. What is mu? I will let you know later. But it is, you can consider. Not I will let you know later. Whether it is just a scaling factor which arises once this ST passes through the channel HT or with the with the receive filter CT. Now you can consider the whole system. Like we are not considering the here. If you consider it, then also it will be NT. So whole system, what we can see that we have AK. AK is passing through a transmit filter whose impulse response is CT, then passing through a channel whose impulse response is HT, then passing through a receive filter whose impulse response is CT. Then the output of that one is YT. The expression of YT will be how much? That is this AK. Since AK is the impulse, once it passes through the GT, then ultimately it will be GT only. Then ultimately we can have the convolution of GT with HT to get the output at this point. Now to get the output at this point, we can have the convolution of GT with HT with the CT. So the whole convolutions we denoted by the PT. So the output YT will be as we have written the sum, like here we have calculated the output ST. There are one transmit filter GT only. So the there we have actually taken the summation AKGT minus KTB. Now since here we are considering that the whole convolution of GT with the HT with the CT is nothing but the PT. So that the output YT, the receiver filter output YT will be nothing but some scaling factor, and then AK, then at PT. And the sum of all those PTs at T equals to K equals to 0, K equals to 1, K equals to 2, K equals to minus 1, minus 2, minus 3. And plus, because of WT, whatever the response of that receive filter will be, that is given by the NT. And the response of the receive filter, because of the wide Gaussian noise, we have already studied the basic nature of this NT. And there we have calculated the mean square value of this NT, then we have calculated this in a smart searching. Others we have studied. So we are not interested much in the NT. We are interested in this expression. And where mu is the scaling factor and P we need to define. How can we define? As I told you, this mu PT is that factor which is arising because of the convolution of this GT. They written over here convolution of GT with the HT with the CT. So this mu PT is nothing but the GT convolution HT convolution CT. This is how we can define this PT. So this is the final expression of the filter output YT. Receive filter output YT. And you must remember over here that in this expression, this PT is nothing but the convolution, double convolution of GT with HT, and then again convolution with CT. And we choose this PT such that the normalized value of that PT is 1. That is the P0 value should be equal to 1. That we simply trying to normalize this PT. That's why we have chosen that P0 value should be equal to 1. Now, same things are written over here. The PT Fourier transform is P of HT Fourier transform is HF, CT Fourier transform is CF, and then mu PF. What will be mu PF Fourier transform? Since we know that the convolution in the time domain, if you find the Fourier transform of that function, then it is nothing but product in the frequency domain. So in the frequency domain, the PT, we can write it as PF. So mu PF will be nothing but the GF, HF, and CF. So this is the impulse response of the whole system, considering the transmit filter, channel impulse response, and the receive filter, which is given by the PT. And this one is the transfer function of the whole system, considering the transmit filter, channel, and receive filter. Now, let us represent this YT in another form. Then we will be having some more idea that what is the ISI. and our aim is to calculate the ISI only. And in the earlier case, you might be remembering that we have not considered this channel because we did not want to consider there effect of the ISI, rather we only wanted to consider the effect of the white gas and noise. But here, since we want to consider the effect of this channel noise, that's why we have considered the channel intersection. And there we will see that how the YT what we are getting here, this is how we can write in another form. This YTI again I have written YTI because at T equals to TI, because you can see at TI we are taking the sampling. So this YTI will be how much? Once we put T equals to TI, this will be YTI. So because on the basis of YTI itself, we make the decisions that whether 1 has been transmitted or whether 0 has been transmitted. So this expression is once we take the sampling at this YTI T equals to TI, this YTI we can simply write it as just by putting T equals to TI. So if you put T equals to TI, which is I into B, so I we can take common, so it will be I minus K into TB. So we can write ITI as mu summation K equals to minus infinite to infinite AK P I minus K TB plus NTI. Now, K, as I told you, may vary from minus infinite to infinite. So here is clearly written above. Now, what will happen to this expression if K equals to 0? Suppose K equals to I, then what will happen to this expression? Mu AK will become AI, then I minus K will be 0, it will be P0, and we know that in the normalization P0 value is nothing but the 1 because of the normalization. So this will be P0, which is 1 plus and TI as it is. So NTI I am written over here, and then because of this K equals to I, we can write it as mu AI. So we have mu AI first plus mu. The rest of term will remain same or minus infinite to infinite, except that K must not be equal to I because for that I we have already considered. So K equals to minus infinite to infinite, there will be the same relationship, that is AKP I minus KTB, and then this K must not be equal to that. So this is now looking to this expressions very carefully. This is YTI, and YTI is nothing but signal at this point. YTI is nothing but a signal at this point. Now this signal consists A mu AI. What is mu AI? Suppose A equals to I. So here will be AI. So at this particular time, that is at T equals to TI, at this particular time, this is AI, and we want to detect over here the AI only. So if you look to the first term, you set some scaling factor, which you don't worry about that. Exactly AI is appeared at the output of this decision making device. That is in the expression of YTI, not in the decision making device. In the expression of YTI, we have exactly the mu AI plus some another term. So if these other term would have not been there, that is these terms would have not been there, then this is our required signal which we want to detect, mu AI. So this at T equals to TI, if this one is the desired signal mu AI, then without any error, even we can detect that okay, whether the 1 is transmitted or whether 0 has been transmitted, depending upon just like making the comparison with this mu AI with the issued lambda. We can have the decision whether the 1 was transmitted or 0 was transmitted, depending upon the value of mu AI. And the mu AI is nothing but depending upon the boundary that input binary data. Input binary data is 1, so AI will be 1, and then mu AI will be passed in. That if this threshold level, say for example, it is set at 0, then we will be detecting as 1. But unfortunately, apart from this mu AI, this term is present and this term is present. So analysis of this we have already done, that is NPI. And what is the probability of error because of this noise we have already seen. We are not going to consider here the effect of the error. Leave it. Now come to this term. What does this term say? Mu equals to minus infinite to infinite AKP I minus K. So this is the residual term. residual term which is actually associated with this PTI, which is not of our actually interest. So this residual effect of all other transmitted bits in the decoding of ith bit, this residual effect due to the occurrence of the pulses like AI. So suppose this case I plus 1. What will happen if this case I minus 1 or I plus 1, and this will be P a I plus 1, then PTP. So this I plus 1 will be the next pulse, maybe rectangular pulse. Similarly, rectangular pulse may present before that of a. So this is the residual term which is not of our interest, and this actually may get added or may get interference with the new AI, which may present at the after of this new AI or before that of the new AI, that is called as ISI. So this term is represents the contributions of the ith transmitted bit. This term represents the contributions of the ith transmitted bit, which is of our interest, which we want to actually detect. But this term represents the residual effect of the other transmitted bits on the decoding of the ith bit. During the decoding of the ith bit, this represents the residual effect of other transmitted bit on the decoding of the ith bit. This residual effect due to the occurrence of the pulses before and after the sampling instant TI, is called ISI. And this simply represents the noise sample at time equals to t. So what is the effect of that? We have already studied. Now, if we consider that there is no ISI, if we consider that there is no ISI, then definitely this term will not be there. So this term will be there. This term will be there. And if we consider that there is no noise, then this term will also be 0. And mu ti we can only write as mu ai, which is our check. Like we can say, in this particular case, the error will neither be because of the noise, or it will not, and neither be because of the ISI. And in that case, our receiver can easily detect the transmitted. It will correctly detect the transmitted signal. This shows that under this ideal condition, but that will be the ideal conditions because we cannot avoid the effect of the noise 100%. But if you consider the case, that is, if that channel is noise free and if that channel is ISI free, then YTI is given as mu AI, which shows that under this ideal condition, the ith transmitted bit is decoded correctly. That is, this receiver detects that okay, either 1 has been transmitted or 0 has been transmitted depending upon the AI, and there is no chance of the error, right? But the unaudible presence of the ISI and the noise in the system, however, introduces the error, because that we cannot avoid unaudible presence of the ISI and the noise in the system, however, introduces the error in the decision device and the receiver output. Therefore, in the design of transmit and receive filter, in the transmit and the receive filters, the objective is to minimize the effect of the noise and ISI. Our aim is to minimize the effect of the noise and ISI. And how can we minimize the effect of the noise? Just by increasing the signal to noise ratio. We have seen in the last class. And how can we minimize this ISI, which is coming because of this residual tones, residual effect of the other transmitted bits, which is coming because of that, which is called as ISI. Our aim is to minimize the effect of the noise as well as ISI. So how can we minimize the effect of the noise that we have already studied? Now let us see how can we minimize the effect of the ISI and thereby delivering a digital data to their destinations with the smallest possible error. Smallest possible error. When the signal to noise ratio is high, as I told you, when the signal to noise ratio high, in that case, like the example I've written about the telephone system, for examples, the operation of the system is largely limited to the ISI. Because once the signal to noise ratio is high, the probability of error decreases rapidly. So if a particular value of the signal to noise ratio where we think that okay, this much of the probability of error may be permissible, we can say like in the case of telephone system where the signal to noise ratio used to be high, there is no chance of there is no actually the problem with the noise, rather there is a problem with the ISI that is highly limited, largely limited by the rather than the noise. In other words, we may ignore and MTI we may ignore. specifically for the telephone system. Most of the systems, since we know that by what method we can actually minimize just by increasing the signal slices, so we can ignore this NPI in our rest of the analysis. Hence, now we focus on our attentions on the ISI and the techniques to control it. So let us see what is ISI and what is ISI that we have already studied. Because of this only this ISI appears, and how can we control this? In particular, the issue we wish to consider is to determine the pulse waveform PT. Because if you determine this pulse response PT, now suppose I'm telling you one thing, that if suppose we are able to determine this PT, because you see, because of this PT only, EI minus KTB, because of this PT only, this ISI effect is appearing. But if we consider this PT such that at I equals to K, that is once the K equals to I, this PT is 1. Otherwise, for the rest of the case, once this K is not equal to I, this PT is 0. Then what will happen? That this signal will always be 0. That is once we consider the I equals to K, that will be added to the mu AI. Okay. But because in that particular case, we do not consider that PT should be 0. But if I is not equal to K, in that case, if this PT becomes 0, that is once K is not equal to I, then only this actually summation term appears. Once we are able to find it out, the expression of PT and the pulse, the nature of the pulse PT, which becomes 1 when K equals to Y, and which becomes 0 when K is not equal to Y, then ultimately the effect of the ISI can be minimized or can be removed at all, because this ISI mainly appears because of this PT. If we choose any PT which can have this type of characteristics like that once this K equals to Y, its value is 1, and once K is not equal to Y, its value is 0, then ISI is removed automatically. So let us see that how can we obtain that PT which can satisfy that conditions, and what is the nature of that PT. So in particular, the issue we wish to consider is to determine the pulse waveform PT. As I told you, pulse waveform PT for which the ISI is completely eliminated. So how can we, by considering which conditions we can, actually obtain the pulse waveform PT? This one only. That is, once the I equals to K, its value is 1, and once this I is not equal to K, its value is 0. Considering that situations, we can obtain the conditions, and if any channel which consists of impulse response GT, ST, because this PT is nothing but the convolution of GT, HT, and CT. And if that particular channel satisfying this that conditions what we are going to derive, then ISI can be eliminated completely. So that is in fact called as Nyquist criteria for distortionless transmissions. Distortionless transmission in the sense that there is no presence of the ISI. If there is no ISI, then what will be the condition of that PT, which can actually cause the distortionless transmission, the baseband binary transmission. So that is called as Nyquist criteria. So we are going to study about that. Nyquist criteria for the distortionless baseband bandwidth transmissions. So, as I told you that if Pi minus KTB, this expression, ITB minus KTB, or we can write it as I minus KTB. If this PITB minus K, ITB minus KTB, if this one is 1, or I equals to K, and once this one is 0, I is not equals to K, in that case, we can say that our YTI will be how much? Simply mu AI. In that case, our YTI will be nothing but mu AI. So you can see, in that case, our YTI is nothing but the mu AI, and we can say that there is no ISI. If we ignore the effect of the noise, then there is no ISI, and we can say that there is a baseband binary transmissions, distortionless baseband binary transmissions. No distortions arising due to the ISI, and in fact that we have already considered we ignore the effect of the noise terms. So this YTI will be simply mu ai, and we can have the distance. Okay? And which implies the zero ISI. So this is how we can minimize. This is how we can minimize the ISI. That is, we need to choose the pulse PT, and PT is what? PT is nothing but the impulse response of transmit filters, channels, and receive filters. Considering all this, if we ever to find out the pulse PT, which is 1 when I equals to k and which is 0, I is not equals to k, then we can have the 0. Later on we will calculate what will be the nature of this PT by which uh, this ISI can be neglected. But this conclusion we have obtained, that is if the PT is this this PT has the nature of this, that is 1 for I equals to k, 0 for I not equals to k, then we can say that the ISI in that particular system can be avoided, okay, can be eliminated 100%. Has two conditions of the equations 4, perfect receptions of the in the absence of the noise. From the design point of view, it is informative to transfer the condition of 4 into the frequency domains. Now, since this one is written in the time domain, so now this is the time domain characteristics of that whole system. That is PT. It is nothing but the conversion of HT with the CT with the GT. So the time domain characteristics of that one is given by this. Now, to get the more informations for this particular channel, we can say for this particular system, it is better to analyze the signal in the frequency domain. So the time nature we are knowing, time domain nature we are knowing, but let us see what is the nature of that signal into the frequency domain. For that, we need to find out the Fourier transform. So to find out the Fourier transform, we have taken the concept, we have taken the help of the what we have studied in the instantaneous sampling. That is, if we have any analog signal PT, and if that analog signal sample value is given as P and TB, that is, if the sample value of that PT is taken at TB, 2 TB, 3 TB, 4 TB, that is, this represents the sample value of that PT. Then instantaneous sample value, instantaneous sampling value, we can write it as summation n equals to minus infinite to infinite sample value, and then impulses. Like if we have this analog signals, then here impulse present, here impulse present in the instantaneous sampling. Here the impulse present here. Ultimately, this is nothing. The value of this one is nothing but the P, and TB. But since here the impulse function is present, then we write it as P and TB delta T minus NTB, and this n may be 0, 1, 2, 3, -1, -2, like that, where the impulses appear. So from the instantaneous sampling, we can write that P delta T equals to summation n equals to minus infinite to infinite P NTB delta T minus NTB. Now, our aim is actually to find out the Fourier transform of these signals, that is P I TB minus KTB. But how can we find the Fourier transform of that? For that, we are taking the help of instantaneous sampling signals, which is represented by P and TB delta T minus NTB. And since you know that instantaneous sample signals in the frequency domain, it is nothing but the periodic signals. So, and since you know that the Fourier transform of the periodic signal, any periodic signal, suppose that PT is the periodic in nature, then the Fourier transform of that periodic signal is simply represented as summation n equals to minus infinite to infinite. All these expressions you might have already studied in the not might be, you must have studied in the analog communication system while studying the Fourier transform properties and all. So it is given as summation n equals to minus infinite to infinite P T minus NTB. Fourier transform of that. This is the periodic signal. PT is the periodic signal. Then since you know that the Fourier transform of that is given as RB. RB is nothing but 1 upon TB. That is called as bit rate. This RB is nothing but 1 by TB, which is called as bit rate. So RB summation n equals to minus infinite to infinite P n RB delta T minus RB. So the Fourier transform of any periodic signal is given by this one. Okay. Now using the duality property, we can write that Fourier transform from this expressions only. Using the duality property, we can write as TB summation B and TB, that will be in the frequency domain. So NTB delta T minus NTB. This will be in the time domain, and this will be frequency domain. So it will be summation P F minus N RB. F minus N RB. Now you can see. So using these properties, we can write the Fourier transform of P I TB minus KTB. Like you can see the P delta F. This is P delta T. So the Fourier transform of this will be P delta f. It means that the Fourier transform of this and the Fourier transform of these functions is given by this, which we can write it as RB P f minus n RB f minus n RB. So Fourier transform that. It means what? It means that what? You can see P delta f equals to RB summation n equals to minus infinite to infinite P f minus n RB. Now, if you find the Fourier transform of this, then it will be again Pf. So P delta t. Now, since P delta t, this expression is given as P n t delta t minus ntb. So from here also we can calculate the P delta f. So P delta f, just by using the basic formula of the Fourier transform, that is minus infinite to infinite, pt e to the power minus j omega t dt, e to the power minus j 2 pi f t dt. So pt is nothing but this, and then e to the power minus j 2 pi f t dt. This is the equation written. So now this P delta t, how can we solve these equations? That is, if we let the integer m equals to I minus k, then this I minus k here in the previous slide, this I minus k here, we can write it as m simply. So if we now, so here in this expression you can see P and TB is written. So that's why you have P MTB we have taken delta t minus MTB e to the power minus j to pi. Now, if you consider this m equals to I minus k, then it will be nothing but considering taking the Fourier transform of this signal. Which signal? E I minus k TB. E m equals to I minus k TB. So delta t minus TB to the power minus j 2 pi f t dt. Now, if I equals to k, then m will be 0. And if I is not equal to k, m will not be equal to 0. Now, just by using the basic properties, we can obtain the P delta f. That is minus infinite to infinite. You can see m equals to 0 when m equals to here. When I equals to k, its value is 1. That is when I equals to k, m equals to 0. When m equals to 0, that will be P0 and delta t. And that t equals to 0, once we put on that, then it will be 1. It will be simply P0 delta t to the power minus j 2 pi of t, which is nothing but P0. Because at t equals to 0, we need to find out the value of that, which is nothing but 1. So G delta f is coming out to be 1. Now, but G delta f or P delta f we have also calculated using this expression. Hence, this we can simply equate it by 1. Once we equate it by 1, this RB, which is nothing but 1 upon TB, TB will go to the right hand side. Hence, we can obtain the equations that is summation n equals to minus infinite to infinite E f minus n RB is equal to how much? TB. So this is the conditions which we got. That is, what does it say? It simply says that in the frequency domain, this is in the time domain. This is in the time domain, and this is in the frequency domain. Because here f is written. This is the conditions. This is called as Nyquist criteria for distortionless baseband transmission. That is, in that particular case, because we have taken the condition of this pulse, where we have taken the condition of this pulse, that is when I equals to k, its value is 1. That is when I equals to k, the m becomes 0, and we have considered the m equals to 0, and for rest of the value, m is not equal to 0. So that conditions we have taken, and because of that only we got this expressions. It means that we are taking the virtue of that particular pt, which is mentioned in the time domain. Ultimately, we got this expressions. And this is called as Nyquist criteria for the distortionless baseband transmissions in the absence of noise. Because here we have not considered the effect of the noise NT. So if there is no noise, if there is no noise, and if this condition is satisfying, it means that there is no ISI, and hence we can say that this is called as Nyquist criteria for the distortionless baseband transmissions in the absence of noise. The frequency functions PF, this PF, eliminates the intersymbol interference or samples taken at interval of TB, provided that it satisfies equations number. Provided that it satisfies the equations number. This is called as Nyquist criteria. It means you can see that if this particular case is satisfied, this particular equation is satisfied, like as I told you, this PT is nothing but the convolution of GT with the HT with the CT, right? Now, in the Fourier transform, that PT is nothing but P of, we satisfy this relationship. Then, 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 what happens? That whole channel that is here, once it passes the transmit filter, GT, then channel HT, then after adding the noise, when it is passing through the receiver filters CT, then the whole system will not offer any ISI, and we can have the distortion-less baseband transmission. That is called as Nyquist criterion. So this is called as Nyquist criterion or distortion-less baseband transmissions. Now, so what are the things we have studied? We have studied that what is the ISI, right? Then we have studied that what is the conditions for which the ISI can be minimized. So for that we need to choose the PT. PT is the combination of those three, and PT in the time domain that must satisfy by these equations, or in frequency domain it must satisfy this equation, which is called as Nyquist criteria for the distortion-less baseband transmissions in the absence of the noise. This is we have now. So, but these are the theoretical part. That is okay. The PT, which is given by this one in the time domain, it should satisfy these equations, and in the frequency domain, it should satisfy these equations. Then question arises: is there any PT, actual PT, which can satisfy these two conditions, or which can satisfy this Nyquist criteria? Which can satisfy this Nyquist criteria? Because if suppose PT, I simply say that if it is nothing but say suppose sync function, then if that sync function, I'm just taking an example, maybe incorrect. So if that PT is nothing but the sync function, to know if the PT is known that if the PT is the sync functions, then it will satisfy these conditions as well as it will satisfy these conditions, and hence we can choose this GT, HT, CT such that overall PT can be the sync functions, and in that case it will have the distortions less. That is, in that case it will not have any intersymbol interference, but ultimately effect of the noise is to our hand, and we can control it just by increasing the signal power, signal to noise ratio. And we can have almost distortion-less baseband transmission. So, in the next class, since it is going to be, it has been already 3:20, in the next class we will see that what is the actual nature of this PT, what is the actual nature of the PT, by, which can satisfy this condition, this equation, that is Nyquist criteria. And if that channel which satisfy this particular Nyquist criteria, that channel we call it as ideal channel, ideal Nyquist channel. And the nature of that one we will see in the next class. That is actually what is that function, what is the nature of that channel, which actually will satisfy, so that we can say that the Nyquist criteria is fulfilling, and in that case we can say that okay, the distortion distance. So in the next class we will be studying the actual nature of the PT. For time being, thank you to all of you. If you have any query, you can ask me. Otherwise, we can stop our discussion. And meanwhile, suppose some things you may miss in between the lectures, things you may actually because of the network issue or because of the any issue. So you may refer that book, the Simon Hackins book. It is very nicely given in that book. And if you find any problem later on also, then you can even call me. You can actually drop me an email also. And if you put your phone number and all in that email ID, then I message it call you. Call you. And if you have any doubt, then I will try my level best to actually clarify you. Meanwhile, this one is a very important actually chapter, and this is a very important and conceptual part. Which just by if you have the interest, and if you will give you proper consultations, then you can understand it very easily, and it is very interesting in fact. So the things what I have discussed, you go through it. If you find any problem, you can ask me even in the tomorrow's class. So today we have not actually discussed much. We have only discussed about the ISI, and even though still it is not completed, we have studied about the what is ISI, what conditions will be satisfied for the channel to get the zero ISI, and next time we will be studying that what should be the actual nature of that PT, which functions can satisfy the actual nature of that PT. Now, if you have any query, you can ask me, please. Otherwise, we can end our discussions over here. Any one of you, please. Do you have any query? Any one of you?
No, sir. No, sir.
Let us end our discussions over here. And both things are taken just from the Sama Hakis book. If you find any problem, you can refer that book also. That book is freely available in the PDF form in the Google itself. You can download it also if you don't. For time being, thank you. Thank you.